What's going on, everybody? We are here. Everybody in the chat, relax. We had to make sure that Tom, did his makeup. Ronen needs some hair touch. I don't know. They needed some additional stuff before they came on. So don't blame me.
All us.
Don't blame me, even though everyone will blame me. So first and foremost, I'm glad everybody's here. As everybody is now here, we're chiming in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know where you're at. And also let us know what is your favorite city to visit. I don't know. I'm feeling this today. What is your favorite city to visit? So where are you from? And then put in the chat, what is your favorite city to visit? We're going to ask the three people here. We're going to dive into the cold calling championship. We're going to have a ton of fun here. I'm going to tell y'all what we're here for. But now we're going to flip it on y'all. So Tom, what is your favorite city to visit?
Nashville.
Vegas? I actually didn't expect that answer.
I absolutely love Nash.
Are you singing the songs like last night? Are you jamming or
Yeah. I love the live music. Being in Arizona, all we got are DJs and the tech music. And so when you go there, it's just live bands. It's just a good time.
Tom, when do you age out of that lifestyle?
I don't think I have yet, but I do love me some
say that with love.
That's hilarious. Okay. Yeah. Catherine, what's your favorite city to visit?
To visit? Well, I would say Paris. I love Paris.
Mine. That's what I was gonna say.
Ronen, yeah.
Yeah, Catherine.
You gotta pick another one. Wait, have you been there during Fashion Week?
Fashion Week? No.
Oh, okay. So maybe I'm not gonna talk about my experience. That was not it. Okay, never mind then. It was cool. I went to the Fashion Week. It was cool.
No, I don't mind any type of year, to be fair. Paris is always lovely.
Okay. Shout out to Paris. Okay, Ronen, what do you got?
Oh, it's a toss up between Tel Aviv and I gotta go with San Francisco. I love those two cities.
And those are two different vibes.
Very different.
Okay. Mine's Portugal. I don't know if you're Portugal is
what city though?
Lisbon.
Really?
I love Lisbon. Shout out to Cash though. Shout out to Sintra. I haven't been to Algarve yet, but those are mine. So shout out to that. But yeah, okay, cool. We're here now. Let's dive into what we're here for. So what we're going to be doing is we have 4 people here that we are bringing up, and they are competing each other, and we're going to vote on who did best here. And we're going to be able to proclaim a winner today. We have some other people have other technical issues or personal reasons that they couldn't come today. So we have 4 people that are here. Now, this is important because some people already know you're going to say this. All of these cold calls that we have is calling an AI person. It is not a real person due to legal, IT, and other reasons across the board. We cannot bring up real calls. So these are all AI. I will say that one more time. All of these calls are AI, because I know someone's going to ask me, like, hey, are these calls AI? These calls are AI. All right. They are.
Hey, are these by real people, Morgan? These are real calls, right? We're doing.
These are. They sound kind of like real people, but this is AI. So I know someone's going to ask me this question. I know someone's going to troll me once we start, but I'm making it super crystal clear that these are AI calls. Okay. So with that being said, where are y'all going to participate today? Where y'all are going to participate is y'all are going to give feedback on these calls. I'm going to play the call. I'm going to share my screen. And then as I share my screen, you all will be able to hear this call. I'm going to make sure, right, that we're good. And you all are going to give feedback on these calls. And then at the end, we're going to vote who is the winner of this. After the call is finished, we will bring up the person to defend themselves. They will talk about how they felt about the call, what happened, so they have a chance to defend themselves, right? So every person has an opportunity, and then us 4 are just going to give some perspective and feedback. So the goal here is we're going to have some fun, we're going to have a good time, and we're going to get it rolling. And I'm going to pull up our first call here. So hopefully everyone is fired up and excited about this. I'm personally excited. I heard the calls, and we're going to see who y'all thought is the winner here. So the first person we're going to go with is we're going to bring up Matt. So a lot of people are already tripping about Matt. So we're bringing up Matt first. I want to make sure that this audio is good. So we're good to go. And again, this is AI. I'm going to say it one more time because y'all could be out of pocket. This is AI, and we're good to go. So real quick, I'm going to share my screen so y'all can hear it. We're going to make sure that the audio is good. So give me 2 seconds. Okay. Now I'm going to play this and make sure, can everybody hear it?
Oh, who is this?
Hey, Lucas, Matt Banks here. Pints.
Can everybody hear it? All right, cool. Chat, can y'all hear it? We good? Cool. All right, we're going to run it back. I'm going to make sure chat was good. Okay, so we're going to pause this in between a couple times, but we're going to be good to go. Let's get it.
Oh, who is this?
Hey, Lucas, Matt Banks here. Pints and Prospects. Appreciate I'm giving you a call out the blue. It is a sales call. Can I have 42 seconds to explain why I'm calling?
Okay, I'm going to pause this and we're going to talk about this between us. What do y'all think about this opener?
Up front, I love that. Just get right into it, Like, hey, this is a sales call. Don't beat around the bush. And calm tone. Really calm, to the point. It's non-threatening. So trying to keep the guard down, trying to not trigger the automatic oh, is this a cold call? I don't want to talk to this person.
Yeah, and it's the permission-based opener as well, right? Which seems to be all the rage these days, like asking if it's okay.
Tom, how you feeling about it?
I'm gonna have to be the ruffle the feathers. I think it is up front. I get it. You say it's a cold call, but I am not into the permission-based opener lane. And I think asking for 42 seconds is you've just wasted valuable time. But I think his tone, to Ronen's point, was something legendary. So calm, so slow. But I don't like the 42-second thing, and I don't like the permission-based side of it. But for what he used, great tone, it worked.
Okay, so we got some controversy from the get. Let's keep it going.
All right. You've got 42 seconds. Make it quick.
I appreciate that, Lucas. If it's not relevant, tell me to kick rocks. Will not be offended. 2 problems I bring up to sales leaders when I get them on the phone. It's frustrating the amount of time it takes for reps just to get through dialing, get through to someone, but to get shot down because it's a gatekeeper, they never get a chance to speak to a decision maker. Or if they are lucky enough to get through, opportunities get missed because they're not following up at the right time and there's no personalization. This leads to lack of revenue, pipelines not being built. Are these problems relevant in your world, or am I barking up the wrong tree here?
You're not entirely off base. Getting past gatekeepers and the follow-up process are definitely issues. But I got to say, we've tried a few things already, and I'm not convinced another tool is what we need right now.
Okay. Do you mind, obviously, you've looked into this as a problem. What tools did you look at as a solution?
We've tried using Kixie recently, but it was buggy and resulted in dropped calls. We're currently using Outreach Dialer, but the connect rate isn't great. We've also looked into Zoom Info for better data, but it hasn't made a significant difference.
Understood. Yeah, I'm familiar with Kixie, Outreach, and Zoom Info. They offer solutions. They kind of vary of what they're offering. You kind of went through it. With our platform, GatePass Pro, we use AI voice analysis to help get through to the right person. And then we use smart scheduling and personalization to help get that first phone call over to an opportunity, meeting booked, and sat. When you looked at Kixie, what was the kind of solution that you were hoping for?
We were hoping for a solution that would improve connectivity and help bypass gatekeepers more effectively. But Kixie didn't deliver on that front due to its buggy operations and call drops.
Got you. Yeah. Normally what I say to people looking in this space is anyone can give you a tool to get into more conversations, but making sure that you get into the right ones and actually nurture that opportunity is much more important. You can increase volume, but if it's to the wrong person, it's not going to help. That's where we kind of use AI voice analysis to detect that before we put you through, to make sure that you're focusing on what matters, which is the conversations with the right people. Lucas, I've called you out the blue to talk about this. Would it be the worst idea for us to have a chat next week when we've got a bit more time?
Look, I'm not saying it's the worst idea, but I'm extremely busy and we're not actively looking for new tools right now. If you want to send me some information over email, I'll take a look when I have time.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask, why are you not looking right now?
We've got a temporary budget freeze and we're not prioritizing new purchases at the moment. Plus, I'm swamped with other responsibilities.
Got yeah, no, I appreciate that. Lucas, you might not be in a position to buy right now, but when I speak to people with budget freezes, the people that get something or a new tool assigned to them when budget does open up are the people that know what's top 3 on their list. So that being said, would it be a good idea to sit down, see how Gatepass can help you guys at Tech Innovators, and then we can have an idea on how we might move forward in the future? Are you free Tuesday or Wednesday week?
All right, fine. Let's pencil something in for Wednesday. But I want to be clear. This is just to hear you out, not a commitment to anything. What time are you thinking?
I can do 3 o'clock, or I can move some things around and do 4:30 for you UK. How does that sound?
Let's go with 4:30. That works better for me.
Okay, I appreciate that, Lucas. I've got your email here, and I've just sent you over an invite. Have you got that in your inbox?
I haven't checked yet, but I'll look for it later. If there's any issue, I'll let you know.
No worries, Lucas. I'll drop you a courtesy email just the day before, but I appreciate your time. And yeah, looking forward to showing you how Gatepass can help.
Okay, so that was the call. So we'll give you a round of applause. Good job. Not easy to record this and see yourself live. So I'll stop that share. We'll get to the next person in a minute. But if anybody wants to provide their commentary right in the chat, now is the time. And we're gonna go quickly around the room, and people, all you're doing here, judges, is giving what is one thing that stood out to you, and then also what is one thing you would like to improve on that call. We'll bring up Matt to defend himself. And then, guys, keep your notes down on who you actually think should win the day. But again, that was our first one. So we're going to start with Ronen. Talk to us. One thing you were like, wow, that was great. And one thing you're like, this is where it could have improved.
I'll double down on the tonality throughout. Matt, you have a really, let's bring Matt up. Matt, you've got a really wonderful tone. Josh Braun talks about it all the time, like the late night. It's the Chris Voss tone, like the late night DJ radio tone. It's so easy to be betrayed by our voice on a cold call without realizing it. You kept it kind of steady. So that's huge. Being able to just own that domain already catapults you ahead of like 90% of cold callers. One thing that when it comes down to like, this might just be your own approach, but it's kind of like a scripting strategy. My thinking is like to think of the cold call as a funnel where you want to sort of bring them in a little bit closer to the conversation. I've found that when I go right in with like the, I heard you say like a version of like, again, the Josh Braun script there of like you know how frustrating it is? Like start with the emotion. My experience trying that, I've tried them all. I actually tried that one extensively recently, and I would just get people being like, what are you selling me? Like, what is this? So instead, if you chunk it down a little bit, where because 10 to 15% of your pickups are going to be right name, wrong person, you first just want to confirm title, confirm that they're still there. Hey, actually, before I get into this, I just want to even make sure this is for you. I have you as like the VP of sales over at Acme. Is that still right? Do I have that right? Yeah. What's this about? That was the reason for my call. Look, really what I was looking to do ideally was to set up a time where I could share a little bit more with you. Set up an introductory call at some point when I'm not calling you out of the blue here. How does next week look? I like going in with the ask early because then they're like, what is it about? And now you have their attention. So it's about getting the attention before the pitch so that you know they're listening to what you're saying. But if you go right from the opener right into like the pitch, more often than not, they're just still trying to figure out who is this and what is it about. So it's almost like slow it down a little bit. Let it unravel a little bit more naturally by giving the prospect some more time to buy into, okay, I'm fully present. I know what you want. You want to set a meeting with me, but what is the call about? Then you say, hey, you know how frustrating it is and you get right into it.
Okay. Love that feedback from Ronen. Let's go to Catherine. What was your one thing that you're like, this was great? One thing that could be improved?
I think from my perspective, apart from the tone, which was great, what I really appreciated was how you kept control of the conversation, right? Like you really worked your way through the various steps that you would want that conversation to go through, right? Like the potential pains, the potential solutions, the competitors, and like asking the right questions, genuinely listening properly, and then making the comment based on that. I think that was a good flow that you had going through there. So that was really, really good. I do feel that, like, to make this even better, you would get more specific, I think, than that it was. It was still very, in my opinion, and it might have been based on like the information that you had, but like you could have been more specific to them and what it would meant for them, which is then again like playing on like what it means to them to get that meeting and why it's important. So this it was still a little bit up in the air as a generalization, in my opinion.
Okay, Catherine, thanks for your feedback there. Tom, last but not least.
Yeah, well done overall, man. One being up here. For me, the one thing you did really well that I was actually impressed by was your close, with going with the options, kind of making it look like your time was valuable, right? You were like, hey, yeah, maybe I can move some things around. It was just good on that whole kind of close to the conversation and bringing it all home, and just echoing what the other two talked about, where in the middle, right? Just through the layers, have a conversation. It kind of seemed like just a spray and pray kind of rip cold calls. This is my flow. It wasn't catered to him, right? The individual. And again, AI don't have a lot to go off of, so I totally not there, but just for the audience and those, and I'm sure you do it in real, your calls, just kind of get those layers, dig in, ask some questions, and then come into, you know what, Ronen, that's exactly why I called. This is what I've seen. This is what's going on. And, switch that up. And then the only part that I would improve, or that I had some feedback on, was what we said in the beginning, the opener. A lot of times, not only did you say, hey, can I have 42 seconds? And you did that part, but then once they kind of dove into it, you then went again with like a soft, like permission kind of approach of like, hey, okay, I'll tell you why I'm calling. If that's not good, just be confident, guys. Like, we're doing our job just as much as anybody else. It is not, intrusive. It's not impolite. You have to believe you're calling with intention. Why did you call the person then? You want to help them. I called Ronen because I genuinely want to talk to you. You are a sales leader. I know that your reps are dealing with this. And when I come with that belief, I don't have to apologize or ask. I can just be confident and say, hey, Ronen, the reason for my call is, it's Tom. I was giving you a ring because I know that some reps right now, let's be real, having a really hard time on the connections and the data that they're going through. For you, is it that they're not getting enough connects, or that they're losing the call once they get it? Where are you sitting on that spectrum right now? Now you're getting into a conversation and can start layering in your questions. That's what I got for you. Well done, though.
Awesome. Great feedback across the board from the judges. From a time perspective, we're going to keep going. So, Matt, if you want to defend yourself, anything that you noticed on that call, if you want to talk about.
Yeah, so overall, interesting call. I think all the contestants will agree with me here, which is Lucas, who we were speaking to, one of the worst prospects I've come across, both human and robotic. I must have spent, well, I'm not going to get into it too much, but the amount of time that I had to spend arguing with a robot, at one point I did kind of sit there and go, I may as well just be arguing with a prospect at this point, because Lucas is not fun. And I know a lot of reps would have just gone, do you know what, hang up, move on to the next one. Yeah, but overall, it was interesting, obviously, to take on the product as well, something that, as a team, and all contestants, we're not familiar with. The way I kind of look at or cold calls, there's two routes, which is either cold calling as a spray and pray approach. It's just about putting your foot through the door, understanding whether there's an interest there, or you've got more of a targeted strategic approach. And I think most reps will be able to balance the two of them. So I kind of went into the call with Lucas at Tech Innovators I've never spoken to him before. I don't have any kind of a history or even reason to call. And that's a big thing that I work with, is if you haven't got reason, you haven't got a reason to pitch them. But even just having that call, understanding what Lucas was looking for, building up a bit of interest. So even if it was a case of getting him on for another call at a later date, at least I've started that first step of the journey. And for me, that's what I try and go for with the calls, is even if it's not about securing it, and obviously in this case was able to get the meeting, but just being able to put them on your radar so that they know Matt from Pints and Prospects or Salesfinity is actually circling them and is about to start closing in. And that's when you can start building up a case.
Awesome. Well, hey, look, I know Lucas was really not playing games.
I'd have blocked him. Do not contact straight away.
Blocked, reported on LinkedIn.
Out.
Number.
Yep.
Unsubscribe. I unsubscribed from him real quick.
Yeah. Hey, look, I don't blame you. No, you did a good job continuously. I think the biggest thing was you were pleasantly persistent, and you did it in a way that led you into at least getting something, right? So that was the key. So Matt, appreciate your time. We're gonna move on to the next one, which here we have Sarah. We're about to dive into. So I'm about to do the same thing. Break the call. Matt, we appreciate you, and we're going to get back into it. Hopefully, y'all are enjoying this so far. And yes, you will get the recording. And yes, this is AI, because I know someone's going to ask me one of those two things. So that's what's going on. So, but that being said, let's share the screen and let's dive in on this call. And we're going to do the same feedback loop we did last time.
Hello, who is this?
Hi, Lucas. It's Sarah here from GatePass Pro. I'm just reaching out because we're working with companies similar to yours to help their salespeople to bypass gatekeepers using AI-powered voice analytics. We're saving them a bunch of time and costs over a number of weeks. And I was just wondering if you had a minute to chat about it.
Look, I'm really busy right now. I don't have time for a long chat. Can you just get to the point?
All right, so Paul, quick, because I know we're going to talk about this. Intro, what did y'all think about it? Real quick around the horn.
Just slow it down a little bit, like you're pacing. Volume's good, but try to speak a little bit slower. Control.
It was a bit long.
Yeah, there was a monologue. That was immediate, just word vomit and a little bit of nerves.
Okay, so let's dive in.
Of course. So how is your team handling, getting to gatekeepers right now?
We use outreach dialer, but the connect rate isn't great. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I understand. Yeah, we hear that quite a bit, With our solution, you'd get through gatekeepers really, really quickly. You'd improve your connect rate fairly exponentially. Plus, it saves time by smart scheduling and personalized email follow-up, giving your salespeople much more time to get through to more people. Would that sound interesting to you?
I don't know. It sounds a bit too good to be true.
Yeah, I can understand that, but it really does work. We're using it ourselves, getting through to decision makers. I can put a few minutes into your calendar and we can walk you through it in a really short amount of time over the next few days if you had a minute.
Look, I'm not convinced yet. How exactly does your AI bypass gatekeepers?
It on the back end, it works in a really clever manner. Again, I know you're short on time, so it would be easier if we could just get one of our guys to walk you through it really quickly.
I really don't have time for this. Just remove me from this list. Goodbye.
Okay, Lucas is out here, yo. Wow. I don't think we want to call Lucas. That's what I'm learning from this whole experience. Like, I'm never calling that individual. All right, y'all, same thing again. From a time perspective, let's do it quickly here. One thing you really liked, one thing to improve from you three. We'll let Sarah chat. We'll go to the next person. Chat, you also can chime in as well and give your perspective. So we're going to start with Tom. We're going to start with you this time, and then we're going to go around the horn.
Great. I thought it was really great in asking for the meeting early. I think always that opens up objections right out the gate. Obviously, plan it, have a cadence. But Sarah, I think getting that opened up where he went. And then obviously, you push for that meeting that second time. What I think you did really well, or where you could have improved, was like your specifics in the very beginning, like connect rates exponentially. Like it was so vague. It was like a lot of feature selling versus, a true benefit of like, why should I care that my reps need to get past gatekeepers? What is it costing me that they're not getting through that, or that they're blocking? And then what's that outcome driven from that, and give me some use case, a little story that might tie that in. That would be my feedback. But overall, congrats on stepping up. And that was a terrible prospect that you had to go through. So really well done.
Before we go to Ronen, also, I did not give this context. It was important. Everybody has an imaginary product. So this is like something they typically do not sell on. So
okay.
Let me give like an overall context.
Oh, thanks, Lord. Appreciate it.
This is an imaginary product we made up. So this is not something they sell on a day-to-day basis to further enhance the difficulty of the call. So just want everybody to know that this is something that's completely made up. So yes, Ronen, continue.
I think this one was actually more realistic than the last one, but that's good because the big takeaway on this is just call them back. Like if this is real life, you just call them back 3 to 7 days later. Hey, last time I spoke with you sounded like you were in the middle of something. Reason for my call. Just get right back into it. If they answer the phone once, they're going to answer again. It's a phone ready lead. So, Sarah, you did a solid job asking for the time up front. Honestly, pacing is going to give you a ton of swagger and some riz on the call. If you slow it down, use the pacing to sort of be a way to come off, like when you're about to ask a question, you slow it down right before the question. If you're going through a pitch, you might want to speed it up a little bit, depending on what you're trying to emphasize. Using your pacing as well as like your volume was pretty solid. Those are the two big levers for tone, your speed and how loud or quiet you're speaking. Go back into it, control those two things a little better, slow down, maybe speak up a little bit more. You're off to the races.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I really am impressed with how you kept your composure with everything that he was throwing at you, right? Like, and I know this is the day-to-day of SDR life, but it doesn't make it any easier, right? So I think managing the conversation after being like pulled to a stop over and over again, is really what we do best, right? Like on the day-to-day. Like with regards to pacing, I agree. You did rush a little bit. It was very fast. So indeed, to just tone that down a little bit and keep digging, right? Like even if he's not willing to like give loads of paragraphs of information, just have like a nugget of like information linked with a question that might have him open up just a little bit more again, that you can then hook on to and then go to the next one. It's like, don't give up with those, because that makes the conversation, rather than just trying to kind of jump from the one thing to the next, trying to get that meeting in. But from that perspective, right, like you asked, you kind of played off him a little bit, which is where it got you. And I think by kind of taking that step back and almost like taking a step away from trying to get that meeting and just keeping in mind you want to get the information first, I think will get you a little bit more of a natural conversation.
For sure.
Sarah, anything you want to say in defense before we move on to the next?
I think Lucas is probably the only prospect I've ever come across that I would have taken off my list without him asking. But it was tough. Actually, I had to do it 3 times because I got as far as, "Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm from Fogate Plus. How are you?" And he hung up twice. So when it came to this one, I was actually surprised that he, that the prospect had let me continue. So it caught me a little bit, and I know I rushed it. And then he asked me some really technical questions, and I know I lost it then, but it was a really true to life. We meet those people all the time, and being able to handle it and just kind of brush it off and go again. And I think exactly what Ronen said, I would bring him back in a week's time. So I was speaking to you last week, you didn't have much time then. Would it be okay if we ran through it really quickly? Now I have answers to the questions that you asked me, but yeah, it was really good fun. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for the feedback as well, guys.
Awesome, Sarah. Thanks so much for hopping on. Yeah, the question is, will Lucas continue to be a savage? Like, does he get better? That's the question that we're looking at here. So appreciate chat, y'all hopping in. Okay, we're gonna go to the third one here. We have Mike. So he's calling Lucas again. And Lucas is making a comeback.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. Lucas, he's back. Lucas is back. And so we're gonna dive into this one. And then again, feedback as always. We're gonna keep it going, keep it lively, and let's get it.
Hello, who's this?
Lucas?
Yes, this is Lucas Jensen. What do you want?
Lucas, Mike, happy Wednesday. How are you?
Mike, I'm busy. What's this about?
Looks like you have SDRs calling into decision makers in North America. Did I get that right?
Yeah, we have SDRs calling into decision makers. What's your point?
Well, this may not be the case at Tech Innovators. Most VPs of sales I speak with are focused on setting more qualified meetings with right buyers.
Well, that's a pretty generic statement, Mike. Everyone wants more qualified meetings. What are you actually offering here?
Yo, why is
Savage.
Yo, what's he on one on this one? He's on one on this one.
He pretty much could have ended
It's
that
a real
sentence with an expletive. That's a pretty generic statement. Beep.
And what? Yeah, they're calling. What?
Lucas came out the booth and this one was like,
Jeez, this guy has it in for you, Mike.
all right. Mike hangs in here, so let's continue. Let's see where this goes.
Reps know how to speak with decision makers. They just can't get them on the phone because of those stingy gatekeepers.
Yeah, gatekeepers are definitely a pain, but you're not telling me anything new here. What's your solution to that?
We help sellers book more meetings with decision makers by removing the administrative burden of dealing with gatekeepers.
All right, so you claim to bypass gatekeepers. Sounds nice in theory, but how exactly are you doing that? And why should I believe it works?
Right. So if I was using my platform to call Tech Innovators, I'd get notified if a decision maker or a gatekeeper picked up. If a gatekeeper picked up, we'd send a personalized message highlighting the value of our platform and why they'd be interested in speaking with us. And if a decision maker picks up, the platform would help me with scheduling as well as messaging along the way.
Okay, Mike, that sounds like a lot of promises. But let me ask you this. How often does your platform actually get past gatekeepers? And what kind of success rate are we talking about here? Because I've heard pitches like this before, and they rarely deliver.
Of course, Lucas, and we have plenty of case studies on our website. You can see anything from 1.5 times more meetings to 3 times more meetings, but the ROI depends on a case-by-case basis, and every client is going to have different ROI.
All right, Mike, I hear you, but case-by-case basis doesn't exactly inspire confidence. I've got a tight budget and limited time. If you're asking me to consider this, I need something concrete. Otherwise, this just sounds like another tool that might not deliver.
When you say consider this, can you be more specific on what you'd be looking to solve with our tool?
Look, I already told you, gatekeepers are an issue and our connect rates are low. But beyond that, I'm not looking to dive into specifics right now. You're the one pitching me. So convince me why this is worth my time.
That's fair. And if we could validate that our platform can help you solve that specific problem through a short trial or pilot, would that be of interest to you, Lucas?
Ronen, you want to run back? That was a good question.
Everyone needs to hear this line again. For the love of God, I've tried so hard to teach this to everyone I know.
That was a good one. I think it's right here.
When you say consider this, can you be more specific on what you'd be looking to solve with our tool?
That's like the default objection handle for anything you don't know. If they say anything that's not clear, just ask them to clarify. That's brilliant. Well done.
Yeah, that was a great question. Let's continue.
Gatekeepers are an issue and our.
And if we could validate that our platform can help you solve that specific problem through a short trial or pilot, would that be of interest to you, Lucas?
A trial or pilot? Look, I'm not saying yes or no right now, but even if I were to entertain that, I'd need to know how you're going to tailor this to my team and our specific challenges. Otherwise, it's just another generic pitch.
Of course, Lucas, and we would hold a workshop to help you to understand what your reps process would look like in our tool. We'll go through case studies of other VPs of sales in your space, and we'll talk to you about the customer onboarding process and how we optimize for speed to value.
All right, Mike. That sounds a bit more promising. If you can actually show me how this would work for my team specifically, then maybe we can talk. But I'm not committing to anything until I see some real value.
Absolutely, Lucas. Are you free for the workshop Thursday at 2 p.m.?
Thursday at 2 p.m. doesn't work for me. How about Friday at 11 a.m.?
That works, Lucas. And can you confirm your email for me?
Sure, it's lucas.jensen@techinnovators.com.
Beautiful, Lucas. I just sent over that calendar invite. If I may ask, what haven't we talked about this afternoon that we should talk about?
Mike, I think you've got enough to work with for now. We'll see how this workshop goes. I'll leave it at that. Goodbye.
All right, like, yo,
Impressive work.
that was really good. I'm even the workshop, like changing it from just like a discovery call, like, oh, we're gonna workshop with you. That was great. The question at the end, that was great. But I mean, that's me off rip. Catherine, let's start with you. We'll start with you in the feedback. Again, one thing he did really well, one thing you can improve. Chat, you also could chime in as well, and then we'll continue on from here.
All right. Yeah, I think Ronen actually asked a question in the chat. I don't like the how you're doing in an opening when you're getting on a call. It might also be an American thing, and I just don't like it because I'm European. But like, I'll put it out there. I liked how in control you were, all the questions that you asked, and how you kind of almost matched his energy, right? Like you weren't like all happy-go-lucky with his very firm and business-like approach. It did make you sound almost like a bot yourself. So it's almost like, so be careful that I don't think you should get rid of too much of your own personality when you're on the phone. But yeah, very impressive, like with how you guided him through it, and got him to kind of really tell you what he wanted to see before he was going to agree to like the next step. I think you might have held a little bit too much back. It might be because it's not your product and not your company, right? But to have like a tidbit of information or a case study that you can immediately share rather than say, oh no, it's all on our website. It's maybe helping the conversation a little bit quicker along, just so he can feel that there's like that data there that might apply to then his team and then agree to go further. But yeah, very, very impressive work, man, for sure.
Ronen, we'll go to you.
I'm just going to venture to guess, Mike, that you've got probably more experience doing this than some of the other folks, just by the way that you handled some of that. I mean, the opener doesn't matter. You could say literally gibberish as long as your tone is pretty much good. Most people aren't really paying attention to what you're saying. But the funneling you did there at the end, where you were getting like more specific, something about it felt Sandler-esque. It was like very, very much like just well done. Like I love that turnaround question. So I think there's two golden statements that if everyone walks away from this with like these two things, hopefully this will help you on all of your calls in the future. The first thing, if you want to say anything in between statements to buy yourself a minute, it's yeah, that's actually the reason for my call. Or hey, yeah, that was why I was reaching out to you today. That's a good like transition line to throw in there. And the other one is the one you just said in that moment when you get an objection. Hey, when you say blank, what do you mean? Can you clarify what you mean by blank? Ask them, and can you clarify question? When you say this thing, question, what does that mean? It's an open-ended question that forces the prospect to explain themselves. The person who's asking questions is in control. So asking questions puts you back in the driver's seat. And then at the end there, you did a really good job of like bring it all the way down to like, let's see if this is even valuable for you. You had one more opportunity to throw in another line right at the end there, but it didn't matter with the AI. It ended up working out where when he was like starting to show some interest, you could have done pulled the pendulum, I think is what Sandler calls it. And you could have gone the other way and been like, look, I don't even know if this is for you. Might not be a fit. So I don't want to waste your time if it's not, but you know, what do you think? Would it be a terrible idea to set up an intro where we could do maybe a workshop if it makes sense? Well done, Mike.
Tom, round us out.
I just echo what these two said. I think, Mike, that was the most impressive back and forth. You pulled out some tricks. You showed some people some new kind of ways to, again, ask questions with questions. I think you did a really good job. And the one where you were just like, you know, what would that look like, right? Walk me through that. I always love walking me through that. That's always a good one of like, hey, Ronen, I hear you on that. Can you kind of walk me through what that looks like for you in the day-to-day? So it kind of uncovers things that kind of take you through. But I think I don't have a lot of feedback, did very, very well.
All right, Mike, what do you got to say? Anything that you want to say before you get out of here?
No, this was fun. I would say in terms of a cold call, probably a couple more shots on goal to make it more punchy and more zippy. It did sound a little robo, but I think whenever you're cold calling, some reps mistake cold calling for pitching and trying to kind of get validation of your idea, when it's more just kind of bobbing and weaving and avoiding the punches until you find something that they're talking about. And then you lock onto that. And then once he said this, I knew my kind of AE brain turned on, and I'm like, all right, I know exactly what to do. And it was almost like a out of body experience where you just know that's because
you blacked out, Mike. That's it.
That's the closing side. So yeah, it's just a different methodology, but this was a lot of fun. I had a great time, and thank you guys.
Yeah. No, thanks for doing that. Actually, what you said is like the perfect way of thinking about it, because the first 40 seconds, he came out with like Mike Tyson haymakers. Most people would have been straight knocked out right from that. And you obviously you kept the pace, you stayed in the game, and then as we asked that question, like the whole conversation changed. Awesome. Well, Mike, thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for coming up here. And then we got one more person. We got Noah left. And Matt, here's the thing. We actually gave Noah another. We didn't give him Lucas. We gave him someone else. No, I'm just kidding. He still has Lucas. But we gave him like the nicest prospect ever. Like just gave him the meeting on the first call. But for everyone hanging with us, let us know if you're having fun with this. If you're enjoying it so far, let us know in the chat. We're going to go to our last person. As we go to our last person, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A. We're going to spend some time answering some questions that you may have here. So definitely put that in the Q&A. Also, as well, we're going to have a poll that comes up and you all are going to vote who wins this. We're going to give our feedback, but this is on the audience too. So hang tight. We're going to do that voting. So again, think about across the board, right, of what you want to do and then how you want to go about it and who you want to vote for. So we're going to go to Noah here, and our favorite person is back, Lucas. If I see Lucas on any of my lists moving forward, I'm not calling them. That's what I've learned from this so far. Like, oh, you're Lucas? Yeah, I ain't calling you.
Yeah, I ain't calling you.
I'm not calling you, bro. So, all right. Here we got Noah. It's our last one. Let's dig in.
Hello, who is this?
Lucas, hi, it's Noah over at London Tech. I know I've called you out the blue here on a Monday, but I did pick up the phone for a specific reason. Have you got 35 seconds for me to explain?
Fine, go ahead.
I appreciate it. So the reason we picking up the phone is spend a ton of time speaking with VPs of sales, and towards the back end of the quarter, they just can't help but feel like their pipeline's not thick enough. And putting a magnifying glass on their team, they really feel like it's down to reaching too many gatekeepers and not getting through to as many decision makers as they'd like. As a result, pipeline's thin, revenue just isn't where it needs to be as a result. I'll pause there though, Lucas, because I'm really not sure if that sounded true in your world.
Yeah, we do run into gatekeepers and connectivity issues, but honestly, I'm extremely busy and not looking for new tools right now.
I appreciate that. So actually, it's not a real concern. You're getting through to as many gatekeepers, and it's not something that you feel like your team needs to really change.
I didn't say that. We do have issues with gatekeepers and connectivity, but I'm not convinced you have a solution that's worth my time.
Okay. And in your eyes, what would be worth your time?
Something that can actually improve our connect rates and help us bypass gatekeepers effectively. But like I said, I'm not actively looking for new tools right now.
Okay. And if that system existed, that software existed, it'd be something that you'd be open to learning more about, essentially.
Maybe, but it would have to be really compelling and show clear value. I'm not interested in wasting time on something that doesn't deliver.
Of course. Would it make sense for me to share what we do? Because that is the product that I'm calling you about today.
Fine, but keep it brief.
More than happy to keep it brief. Essentially, we're an AI-powered software that helps sales pros bypass gatekeepers. That's all through voice analysis to identify key decision makers. So making sure that your SDRs and your sales team are getting through to the decision makers to book those meetings in, but as well as smart scheduling technology to automate booking that meeting for them. So there's no human error when it comes to getting that time in the calendar, as well as personalized email follow-up in between when that SDR has booked a meeting and when it's sat to make sure that the prospect stays engaged and ultimately that meeting is going to sit. Is that something that intrigues you, or should we just part ways friends?
It sounds interesting, but I'm skeptical. We've tried other tools before and they didn't deliver as promised. How is your solution different from something like Kixie, which we had issues with?
Of course. I'll be honest with you, Lucas, I haven't heard of Kixie. When you were using them, what was the real key driver that made you not want to continue using them?
Kixie was buggy and resulted in drop call. It was unreliable, and we can't afford that kind of disruption.
Oh, I totally agree. If I was making dials and the calls were dropped, I would be fuming. SDR. But the connect rates are above standard. The wait between being picked up and speaking to them is less than 0.5 seconds. It is instantaneous, and you are speaking to the person you want to speak to and bypassing those gatekeepers. I know I've called you out the blue here, and you mentioned that you're ridiculously busy. Should we find a more convenient time to speak where we can help you understand how that would work for you and your team at Tech Innovators?
All right, let's say I agree to a follow-up. How will you tailor the demo to address our specific issues with gatekeepers and connectivity?
That's a great question. So what we'll do is one of our experts in the team between now and when that meeting is set, will research the company, look at who you target, your typical ICP, the typical percentage of them that have gatekeepers, and we'll make sure that that is tailored to you, your industry, and the people that you're targeting.
Okay, fine. Let's set up a time. How about next Tuesday at 2 p.m.?
Next Tuesday at 2. Perfect. We'll do just that. Can I just confirm your email, Lucas, to make sure that goes through to the right person?
Sure. It's lucas.jensen@techinnovators.com.
Perfect. I appreciate it. So what I'll do, I shoot that invite off. You can expect a couple of emails in the meantime. As I mentioned, that there's that personal follow-up generation. So that'll come through to you and it'll just keep you given some things to look at in between now and then. We'll speak to you soon, Lucas. Appreciate your time.
Okay, so there we go. That's our last call there. And let's bring up Noah, and then let's go around the horn. So let's start with Ronen. We'll start with you on one thing you really like, one thing to improve. Noah will come and defend himself, and then we're going to open up the voting here, see who won this entire thing.
Yeah, I'll start with what I liked. You have a lot of the raw elements that are harder to like develop already solid. Follow-up cadence, the good questions. What's the word? You're audible ready, right? Like you know where to take it. That's the hard. One of the harder skills to develop in this. The easier skill, in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong here, seems to be needing some attention, slowing down way too fast. Like if you had one of those AI trackers that was telling you like how fast you were speaking, it would just be like blinking red, like slow down, slow down, slow down. Taking pauses in between. This is one of the best things you could ever do. I think I've heard Morgan say this a bajillion times too. Like use the mute button. If following someone, hit mute after you ask a question so that you let them get into it. And that forces you to do something physical to change up your mindset so that you don't jump right back in. You didn't cut them off at any point, but you were pretty close to like just getting right back into it. And then the final thing, which I threw in the comments there, is this is for everyone. Like, you can have the best objection handle response to anything, but if we don't first show them that we heard them, if I don't show you that like I acknowledge what you said, I run the risk of seeming combative, and that could shut some people down depending on their personality type. So some personalities will be shut down based off of that, and you're done. So instead of risking that, really easy way to just do that before any response is it could just be like, oh yeah, totally understand what you're saying. And then you get into the question. Another really easy way is you just repeat back the last 3 words of what they said. Like, oh, send you an email. Happy to do that. Usually when I send emails, like I'm honestly still waiting back from all those people I've emailed. Would it be crazy if we set up a time instead? How's next week? Anyway, core stuff, great. Some little tweaks there. Otherwise, really solid.
Awesome. Appreciate that feedback, Ronen. Let's go to Tom.
Yeah, I think for me, it was actually impressive. So Noah, when you, again, fake product, I liked when you said, he said Kixie, and you were like, yeah, I don't know them, but like walk me through that. I don't know if that was intentional, but people don't play into that psychology enough. You know your competitors, right? Everybody knows, but it's really cool when you're like, Ronen, that's interesting. You know, has it showed up on my map? Can you walk me through what they've done for you, or what's really moved the needle for you? You know, right? But it sets them up. You always want your prospects to use their own words. Something I learned early on in my career. That's how you get people to take action. Ronen, you told me when you use Kixie, you said it had really bad rates. The drops with right? Isn't that what you had said mentioned earlier? It is. Okay. Well, that's why I'm saying we can close the gap here for you in that. So if we could say, you know, if we set up 30 minutes, we'll go through, we'll pull your ICP, all of that. I think you set good expectations there too. When you said he was like, what are you going to do to tailor the demo? I think you could have done more there. Again, fake product, but you showed how that foundation is built of just like, hey, we're going to go through your ICP. We're going to do some of this. We'll bring that all in, and we'll make sure we show you how we would penetrate, you know, the gatekeepers you run into, not just gatekeepers in the world, because there's very different levels of gatekeepers. So it shows them like, okay, you know my world. So I think you did really well. To their point, just pace, muting when you feel you have so much to say. Muting changed my life. I am a talker. I used to be an interrupter. I used to just never be able to take my brain and shut it off, and I jump in all the time. Doesn't go well. So now I learned very early on that mute button saves your life. Just mute. Talk your stuff. They can't see you. Be like, oh my God, like get it all out. And then you come back in, you're like, really, Ronen? Great question.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, but like, okay.
You know.
Sure, buddy. No, that was good feedback, Tom. We appreciate it. Catherine, we'll end with you. We'll let Noah defend himself, and then we'll get into voting here.
All right. Well, I actually also made a note of how impressed I was with the Kixie comeback. So that was definitely something that stood out. Also, earlier in the call, I think you made like a value statement, and then you kind of reverse psychologist on him, going, oh, but that might actually not be for you, and you might not be. And he actually went, wait, I am interested. So please keep talking, which I thought was really, really cool. Can go both ways, obviously, but in this way, it did go very, very well. And what I liked was that at the end, you kind of almost like looped back all the way to the beginning. It was like, I know you said you were super, super busy. And then rather to just push the meeting, he was like, oh, but can it be more convenient for you? It's just like, so really like play in his mind, like, I'm trying to help you out here by getting a different time to keep talking. So I definitely thought that was very, very good as well. And in general, just like very cheerful personality, despite Lucas's sourness all along, right? So very, very well done, Noah.
Lucas is a sour person. We'll pray for him. So, no, defend yourself.
No, not much to defend here. I appreciate all the feedback. I think everything that everyone said about Lucas is true times 10. No more needs to be said about it. Definitely something that crops up on cold calls is a weird thing. I do just get excited. It's like back in school when you're asked a question, like an objection, you know the answer to in your head. You're like, I know this one. I know this one. Pick me. Something that like I am just constantly combating. It's like on actual calls from selling my sales coach, listening back to it. That's something that I've worked on. I've actually started listening to all my calls in 1.5. I'm like, wow, that is really fast. I need to slow down. Just so in my head, I'm like, slow down, Noah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate all the feedback, guys, and the opportunity to do this has been great.
Awesome. Well, Noah, we appreciate you. And as we go into the voting here, the thing is, if you have questions, throw them in there. We'll try to rapid fire. I just want to quickly just acknowledge the 4 people who submitted a video, came up here and came into the competition, an imaginary product in front of everyone, right? To clarify, like, this is not their normal product, and they made it something. So I just want to give a round of applause before we go into the voting. Well done to everyone. And also as chat, appreciate y'all's participation, and judges as well. Thanks for coming in and taking your time to do this before we go into it. So I'm going to ask the 3 judges here who they believe is the winner. And then we're going to ask you all as the audience, which will proclaim the winner. And we'll go from there. So we're going to start with Ronen. Who do you believe out of everyone is the winner of this competition?
Ooh, we heard some great calls. My vote's going with Mike.
Okay. You got Mike. You want to explain why, or just like Mike, and then we're just moving on from you?
Honestly, just kind of like all the pieces put together. I think it was the most complete call, and in the comments I called it a masterclass. So to be fair, I think it just had a lot of good elements in it. There were lots of good elements in all the calls, but this one felt like the most complete.
Awesome,
especially the funneling at the end there. So
no, the questions was crazy work. Tom, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's really Mike, just from experience, tone, the hardness of the prospect that he had. But I also want to give a little bit of a recognition and nod to Sarah in her conversation, not from success rate, but just what she went through and some of the things that she showed the audience in that conversation. But Mike is the winner just from everything he did in that call. It was a masterpiece.
Okay, Catherine, talk to us.
I was really like umming and ahhing, I would say, between Noah and Mike. I think both of them had like all of those like exemplary bits of when you want to show someone how to do proper cold calling. Not negative about Sarah at all, right? Like every single call had those pieces. Those two, I think, had the most of them. But if you now ask me, like, okay, make a decision between the two, and like what I felt was the most impressive, I think I would have to go with Mike.
Okay, so thank you all for your feedback. But now is the time that we're gonna let the audience pick. So there should be a poll that should come up here. All of you should be able to see. If you can't, let me know. But you should be able to see this poll, and you should be able to vote. So we got the votes now going here, and I see them live across the board. So the question for the three of you, even for myself, is like, would you all be able to handle Lucas, or he was just too savage?
I'd get cooked.
You hang with Lucas.
We should do it. You know what? We should all send in our recording and run it back. I'll do it. Tell the crew. Tell the crew to send it over to me. I'll run it. I'll see what we do.
It feels like cold
add it as a.
If we got some whiskey going, like maybe.
Oh my God!
Like,
what? Whiskey and Lucas? Yo, that would be so. We would say some things I don't know.
I'm already fairly unhinged, but like, oh my God.
Yo, the objection handle would be mental.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
Yeah, I wonder what he would say if you started getting really out of pocket.
Right? What would you?
Has anyone tried with these AI training, like to really just go off the grid and see what they say?
I actually haven't. Now I'm like,
I have.
Oh, we still got votes coming in. We still got votes coming in, but make sure.
Yeah, does everyone know where the poll is? Because we've got like 100 people on and like 30 votes.
Close race. It's a close race.
Wait, Catherine, now we have to know what happened.
Yeah, I just kind of tried to see how rude I could be before they hang up and stuff like that. And I think it's AI, but I do think it makes you feel more confident in like making mistakes, because I sometimes went off track and then they would still reply in a way that you go, oh, okay, maybe you can do this, or maybe you can sometimes just screw up a little and then kind of tie it back again. So from that perspective, I like trying these type of things out. Same with like openers, like let's try one and immediate hang up, try another one. Oh, I got like 2 seconds further and then a hang up, and then you try another one. So yeah, it's nice to sometimes just play with these things.
Yeah, now see, Ronen, you got me thinking. I'm like, if I were to do a whiskey and an AI cold call, how off the hinge would the AI prospect be?
Morgan after dark, folks.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
That would be hilarious.
Tom's not about it.
I know. Never mind.
Tom's not with it,
bro. If you and I took a round of whiskey and called that too, it would get so unhinged.
Next time you guys come down to San Diego, we're doing
this.
We're doing this.
Whiskey and cold calling. Whiskey and cold calling.
All right, one in the comments if you want to see this. And that's the only vote.
Validate this idea for us. Put a 1 if you think we should do whiskey and calling with AI.
This is Matt. We'll get Matt.
Oh shoot. Oh no. Oh no.
Yo, that's crazy out of pocket. Like, yeah, we're gonna have to record that one and test that one before we actually let that out in the wild. Oh, we got 1 minute left, and then we'll make sure. I want to make sure we got 90 people here, so make sure everyone actually gets their vote in. We got about half the people that voted, so chime in.
Morgan, we had a question in the Q&A. I don't know if you want. Should we jump to that?
Yeah, let's jump to that for sure. I'm gonna actually pull up on the screen here. This actually is a really interesting question. So as people vote, do you prepare pain points to adapt to every prospect, or do you create a list of prospects with exactly the same job title and pain points? Open to the floor.
I do both. Combo, but the latter is usually the approach I take. Like, your list is your strategy. So if you are driving your strategy off of your list, you want to have people that you're going to speak with that have the same challenges. And instead of talking about like a pain point, it's like, what do they have the same cost of doing nothing? So that's kind of like the underlying outcome of the pain point. So the pain point for like this fictitious tool sounded like it was getting through gatekeepers quicker. So like the pain point of not addressing that is like you're wasting time, but the cost of doing nothing might be like, oh, missing quota, spending a ton of money for every meeting. Your CAC is through the roof. So like the way I focus it in is I have 2 or 3 per list so that I can jump around. I call that problem pivoting. So each list should have 2 or 3 main things that you can jump to in a call that your product can support.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to chime into this?
I think I would agree with that specifically. I think there's some exceptions that I see within my very strategic big enterprise team, where when it's like a super research personalized approach within one specific account, you might have a specific pain point that you found out from that account. But other than that, you should always have more. Otherwise, it just takes way too much prep time in order to be useful for it.
Tom, anything else?
Research or no research? This is what we're getting into. You teed this up. This was rigged, and that was a planted question. But I am both. But I do believe you should cater, right? You saw in these calls they were pitching a generic product. We all could see it. We all saw how they bounced around. So, good with it all. But you need to have some pay points to them, but also definitely bucket, understand the persona. Yes, you're an SDR and that's your skill set for the day, but your job is to live and breathe your prospects, understand them, put that hat on every day and kind of step into their world and understand their common pains, right? Learn that ICP. And with ChatGPT now, like, lean into that, have it break down and really get in depth with your ICP, ask it questions. Hey, I sent you this cold email. You're this title. How would you perceive this? What would you want to see, right? Like, get into their world and then kind of cater those have those bucket pain points, but then try to find 1 or 2 to them exactly.
I love that. Yeah, I think that, and also studying it and memorizing it, right? Like, the more you can memorize this, the better you will be at just in a fluid conversation instead of looking at what it is. So let's get into what we have, sir. I'm going to close the poll. I believe I can open this up. So I'm going to close the poll here. And we have our poll that we have here. So based on this poll that I have, that we see here, Mike is the winner, and the run-up very close is Noah. So here are the prizes we're handing out. So for Mike, you will have a $500 Airbnb voucher. So don't know where you're balling out, but you got a chance to. And then Noah, you have for the second place, you have $200 for Airbnb voucher of your choice. So shout out to everyone, though, that participated. Like we said, thanks for taking the time and doing this. Chat, thanks so much for coming in hot, giving your perspective and making it fun. Shout out to the 3 judges for taking their time out of the day. And shout out to Lucas for making this savage. So that's really what it is at the end of the day. So again, shout out to the winners, Mike and Noah. Amy on the Cognism team will reach out to you with all of the information and the details across the board as well. So I appreciate it. All y'all have a blessed rest of your day. And yeah, hope everyone learned something that you can use in your role. See y'all.
See you guys. Bye.
Everyone.
Yeah.